Ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. If you're above the age of 5, you probably recognize the sound that I'm making. That's your heart, isn't it? Our hearts beat every day without us telling it to, and I for one am pretty grateful about that, because if my heart depended on me every day to beat and get blood everywhere, I'd probably be dead by now. I probably would have been dead like 10 years ago. But many Americans have become more health conscious about their heart health in the last decade, but there's still some areas that are a little bit sketchy that people can't really agree on or just don't even know about. As somebody who's had stroke level blood pressure in the past and who has a family full of heart problems, I've been in and out of the doctors, and I've had to take my health into my own hands. As such, I've done a lot of research, and that research tends to connect heart health and longevity with blood pressure and pulse rate, your heart rate. Many ignore these two measures, citing that their blood pressure or their pulse rate being higher or lower is their normal. But honestly, science just doesn't really support that very much. It might be your normal, but that doesn't mean it's normal. It's still abnormal. Our ancestors didn't have to worry about heart disease at the rate that we do, and there is a reason for that. Monitoring your blood pressure and pulse rate both are in fact key to maintaining a healthy heart. It's imperative to acknowledge our denial about blood pressure and pulse rate, and it's essential to make daily changes to improve our heart health, to maintain it. Failure to monitor blood pressure and pulse rate contributes to a large number of unexpected heart problems, often overlooked due to the prevalence of doctors to put the spotlight on blood pressure, because it is what doctors have focused on over the years. Monitoring your pulse rate is actually very important. It's a good indicator in heart disease and injuries to the heart. It can also be a symptom of many other ailments, though. Medical News Today reports that tachycardia, or the faster beating of your heart, which is what I have, raises tremendously your risk of stroke, sudden cardiac arrest, and death. Both low and high heart rates can cause blood clots, heart failure, fainting spells, sudden cardiac arrest, all kinds of really nasty things. And if you're like I think you are, you probably are unaware of your pulse unless you have had it mentioned to you before from a doctor or it runs in the family. You probably are just generally unaware of your pulse and its importance, because, I understand the struggle. If you were to go to the doctor today, I would place money on your pulse being higher than 100 beats per minute, which is bad. Your heart is supposed to beat below 100 beats per minute and above 60 to be normal, to be classified as normal. If you were to go and get checked and you come back with a pulse higher, that is more likely than for you to come back with a pulse lower, just because we drink a lot of caffeine and all this other stuff that causes a whole lot of stimulating action to our blood pressure and our heart rate. I had no clue that something was wrong with me until I checked my blood pressure and pulse out of sheer curiosity, and then I found that I have high blood pressure and I also have tachycardia. While your heart rate is very important to monitor, blood pressure is equally as important. They're both one and the same. You have to keep an eye on both of them. The American Heart Association has declared that atherosclerosis, or the narrowing of the arteries due to buildup of fats, cholesterol, plaque, that is caused by high blood pressure. The hardening and narrowing of the arteries creates an ideal environment for blood clots to form, and a large enough blood clot or buildup will create a block, and that restriction of airflow and oxygen and nutrients will cause tissue death, which is a heart attack. And I don't have to warn you on the importance of avoiding heart attacks, because you probably know that in most cases it is fatal. Do you need any more proof? Cardiologist Luke Laffin reports that for each increment of 20 millimeters of mercury over 115 millimeters of mercury systolic, your risk of heart attack, stroke, heart failure, or chronic kidney failure doubles. My sister experienced a condition called preeclampsia when she was pregnant. It occurs while a person's pregnant, and it raises a person's blood pressure to unsafe levels. In order to save not only my sister's life, but her baby's life, they had to perform a cesarean section emergency when she was 27 weeks premature. Luckily, she has survived, but unfortunately, many are not that lucky. According to the Centers for Disease Control study in 2014, approximately 1,100 deaths per day were attributed to high blood pressure and complications thereof. While blood pressure and pulse rate can result in many ailments, it can also be a symptom of other underlying conditions. Like the medical news today explained that overactive thyroid glands, reactions to medication, certain lung diseases, and other imbalances are some unexpected conditions that can contribute to a high heart rate. Equally, on the other side, low thyroid levels, electrolyte imbalances, and all that can contribute to a slower heart rate, says the Michigan Medicine Journal. Making the necessary changes to reduce your risk of heart disease and other ailments requires a great deal of willpower. You have to be very committed. Pulse can be easily affected by any sort of stimulant. When you think of stimulants, you probably think of meth, Adderall, drugs like that, cocaine, etc., etc. But the world's favorite stimulant is one that you probably didn't even know was a stimulant, and that is caffeine. It is found in coffee, it's found in teas, it's found in sodas. And that is, it's really linked to the fact that tachycardia is so high in our country because we consume a lot of tea, soda, and coffee. Drinking water and caffeine-free teas and sodas is a good way to monitor your levels of caffeine. Reduce it a little, it'll help your heart rate out greatly. Limiting your sodium intake can seriously help your blood pressure, but if you need to lower it. But it also raises your heart rate, so you have to keep things balanced. Processed foods, saturated fats, and many meats contribute to higher blood pressure and should be limited. There is a whole choice of heart-healthy foods that you can choose from, though. We also have, as Americans, we also have an unhealthy relationship with alcohol. That's a no-brainer. But it seriously affects your blood pressure, besides the liver and social problems it causes. So if you could monitor your intake, that would probably be great for you, as well as smoking. And remember to exercise. Exercise is very important for stabilizing any blood pressure and heart rate problems. If you don't know if you're at risk, you should still have both checked every few months at the very least. If you don't want to go to a doctor, you can buy a cheap kit at Walmart that monitors your blood pressure and your pulse for $25. But if you don't want to do that, you can also just check at your wrist. I will show you how right now. My assistant will time me for 15 seconds. You're going to go between your radial artery, which is here or here on this wrist, and your bone. You're just going to press down with 2 fingers. She's going to count to 15. All right. So I counted my pulse, the pulsations, and I got 24. So 24 times 4 is 96. So that's my pulse right now. That's pretty good. But yes, you can do this at home yourself. It's very easily. And it may be a little tedious to keep an eye on these things, especially if you read normal most of the time, but it's very important to monitor it just in case, because it can change very fast. So I implore you to take a minute or 2 out of your day, or even your week, to monitor your blood pressure and heart rate, because it can make the difference when heart disease comes knocking.